Well, it looks like we could have our first look at the Nintendo Switch 2. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Now this comes to us via the way of a Chinese website, so there's no guarantee this is 100% correct, but these look very close to everything we've been hearing, so I'm going to take a look at them here, and if this video gets struck down by Nintendo, then we'll know they're legit. And we'll start here by taking a look at what appears to be the new Joy-Cons and where they attach to the Switch 2. And you can see this kind of lines up with what we've been hearing. You can see a hole here where there's probably like a peg type area on the main console. And that does line up with what we've seen of the suggestion of magnetism holding these things on. And then in the center you can see where the pins are that would make connection to the Switch 2 system. And then we have another real photo here of what looks like the shell of these new Joy-Cons and possibly the back shell part of the new Switch 2. You have a system board that's from the center to the right, and then probably the area where the battery goes would be my guess for this. And the rest of the drawings we have here are different CAD drawings. First we have here for what appears to be the left Joy-Con. And it looks pretty similar to what we have currently on the Switch, except for the attaching mechanism's different. And then we have that right Joy-Con. You can see how it has that second button down there at the bottom. And from what I can tell from the image, it looks like a C. Now you can see the button above it does have a picture of a home, so that lines up with what the home button would be. But I'm curious as to what this C button could stand for. If you have any ideas, drop a comment below and let me know, and if I find out any more, I'll pin a comment below and let you all know. And then we have what appears to compare the original Switch to the Switch 2, and I'm taking that bottom item to be the original Switch because it looks like it lines up with the kickstand and where the air vents are. And you can see a definite difference in size here, and we'll get a closer look at the back of that in just a second. But the next image we've got is the front of the two systems compared. And you can see if this is true, we've got quite a bit more size here on the Switch 2. And then we have what appears to be the bottom view of the Switch 2. And you have the USB-C connector along with probably little connector pins there to line up the system in the dock. And then probably, I'm guessing those two slits on either side are the speakers. And then we have a top edge view, we have the power button on the left and the volume up and down. And then the next two little circles, I don't think the left one is anything. You've got something like that similar on the Switch. It may just be something for assembly. And then I'm thinking maybe the next one might be a power LED, but I'm not positive. And then you have a vent across the center. And the next you have what looks like maybe another USB-C connector, but that would be a little bit odd. And then I'm thinking the next big circle there is the headphone jack. And then finally you have the cartridge slot. Next we have that closer look at the back, and you can see that kickstand here. Now this does not line up with some of the rumors we've been seeing about a kickstand that would be U-shaped. This appears to be very similar to how the Switch OLED kickstand is. And then I'll also point out at the top on either side, it looks like you may have the release button for the Joy-Cons, and that may break that magnetism or it may just kind of kick the Joy-Cons off of the system. And then we have a back view of both Joy-Cons. Not a whole lot to learn here. We saw pretty much everything from the front and then from that back view of the entire Switch with the Joy-Cons attached. And then finally we have a complete view of the front of the system with the Joy-Cons attached. Again, I don't think there's really much to learn from this, but it's good just to see the whole thing put together. And then finally, we have this list of specs here. Of course, this appears to be in Chinese, so we do have a translation here over on Reddit. And this lists part numbers and everything, and I'm not going to read through all the different part numbers. You can see those here, but I will point out some of the important specs. We have the SoCi, that's the CPU plus the GPU, the GMLX 30-R-A1. And then when it comes to the memory, it looks like we will see 12 gigs of LPDDR5X running at 7500 megatransfers per second. Now this seemed to match up with some of that shipping data we saw a couple of months ago. And I must say 12 gigs should be a lot for this system, so I think that's a good choice by Nintendo, of course, if all of this information is correct. And then we have the onboard flash memory. It says it's 256 gigs of UFS 3.1. And that's going to have a transfer of 2100 megabytes per second. And that's pretty quick. Just to sort of compare numbers, the Xbox Series system has an onboard storage that runs at 2.4 gigabytes per second. So you're not looking at a big difference here between the speed on the Xbox Series versus the Switch 2 speed. And it looks like the Switch 2 will have an NFC reader, which we would expect to be able to use with Amiibos. And it has a built-in microphone, which seems to line up with some of that shipping information we saw a few months ago. And to go along with that shipping information, it looks like we do have dual cooling fans, and that's something that has been seen as we've had 2 different product numbers for cooling fans. Some speculations that one might be for a dock, but it looks like the system itself might use 2. And then with the networking right here, it does say that it has gigabit Ethernet chip, and then the base has a network cable interface. So I'm thinking this means the dock. So it sounds like there's built-in Ethernet on the system itself, but you would have to have the dock to connect to it to use it. So definitely a lot of information here. Again, this may not be correct, but it seems to line up with everything that we've seen. You've got that second button there on the bottom of the right Joy-Con. We've got the different mechanism for these new Joy-Cons to attach. And we do see that the system is quite a bit bigger than the original Switch. But let me know your thoughts. Do you think this information is correct, or do you think we're just all being duped? And if these specs are correct, how do you think they measure up? Drop a comment below and let me know your thoughts. And if you liked the video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed yet, consider doing so. It really does help the channel out quite a bit. I want to thank you for watching, and be good.